The vitamin you take every morning for your bones might be destroying the arteries in your legs. And the reason nobody has told you is that the medical system makes more money treating the damage than preventing it. Roughly 50 million seniors take vitamin D every day. Their doctor told them it protects their bones. What nobody explained is that vitamin D floods your blood with calcium, but has no ability to direct where that calcium goes. And without one specific partner vitamin that 97% of seniors are completely deficient in, the calcium does not reach your bones. It deposits directly into the walls of the arteries that feed your legs. Surgeons who cut into femoral arteries that should be soft and elastic find calcium deposits that crunch under the scalpel like eggshell. Arteries that feel like PVC pipe instead of living tissue. In case after case, the patient was taking vitamin D and calcium, and in every case, they were completely deficient in the one vitamin that keeps calcium in bones and out of blood vessels. This channel exists because the system will not tell you this. Your doctor gets 12 minutes. That is not enough time to explain that the supplement they recommended is flooding calcium into your blood without a guidance system. It is not enough time to explain that a vitamin costing less than $1 a day could keep your arteries flexible for life. And it will never be enough time because the system is built for prescriptions, not for prevention. A $200 blood pressure pill is on the formulary. A $28 vitamin that prevents the stiffness is not. The system profits from managing the damage. It does not profit from preventing it. This video gives you the 60 minutes your doctor cannot. Now, before I show you the damage, I want you to see the other side first. Because if you do not see where this is going, the information that follows will just scare you. And I do not want to scare you. I want to fix you. Imagine this. 90 days from now, your feet are warm when you get into bed. You do not reach for the thick socks anymore. You walk to the end of your block without stopping. Then 2 blocks. Then a mile. Your calves do not burn. Your legs feel like they belong to you again. Your spouse notices first. They stop watching you walk across the room with that look on their face. Your daughter stops asking if you need help getting out of the car. Your doctor runs a circulation test and says your numbers have improved for the first time in years. When they ask what changed, you tell them you started one vitamin, 87 cents a day. Nobody had ever told you about it. That is where this video takes you. 1 capsule, once a day, with food. That is the entire protocol. The effort is almost embarrassing compared to the result, but the reason it works is not simple, and you need to understand the mechanism. The mechanism is what will make you take it every day for the rest of your life. Without understanding it, you will try it for 2 weeks and quit. There are 3 types of seniors watching right now. The first type takes vitamin D every morning and assumes the calcium is going to their bones because their doctor said so. The second type is you. Your feet are cold at night. Your calves ache when you walk. The hair on your lower legs has thinned or disappeared entirely. Your toenails have thickened. You have blamed every one of these on getting old. You have never been told that a missing vitamin could be the connection between all of them. The third type takes this partner vitamin alongside their vitamin D, and their arteries stay flexible while their bones stay strong. This video is about how you become the third type. If you watch until the end, you will know more about your leg arteries than 99% of the doctors who have examined you. The partner vitamin is K2, specifically the MK7 form. And the reason I did not name it in the first sentence is that if you heard K2 and went to Amazon right now, you would buy the wrong form and take the wrong dose. And if you are on a specific blood thinner that I cover later in this video, you could create a dangerous interaction. You need the full picture first: the mechanism, the dose, the form, the medication conflict, and the timeline of what happens inside your body when you start. This is why K2 matters more than any supplement on your shelf right now. When you swallow vitamin D, it enters the lining of your small intestine. It activates a gene that builds a microscopic transport protein called TRPV6. This protein sits on the surface of each cell facing the inside of your gut. When a calcium ion from your food drifts past, the transport protein grabs it. It physically seizes the ion and drags it through the cell wall into your bloodstream. One TRPV6 protein handles one ion at a time, but vitamin D does not build one. It builds thousands across millions of intestinal cells. Every single one grabs calcium and shoves it into your blood. The more vitamin D you take, the more transport proteins are built, and the more calcium floods in after every meal you eat. This is why your doctor told you to take it. More absorption means stronger bones. That logic is correct as far as it goes, but it does not go far enough, because the transport protein pushes calcium into your bloodstream and then its job is done. The calcium is loose in your blood with no address and no guidance. It is like dumping 1,000 passengers at an airport with no signs, no gates, and no boarding passes. Some find the right plane, some wander into restricted areas. In your body, the right plane is your skeleton. The restricted area is your artery wall. And vitamin D has no ability to tell the passengers which way to go. It floods and leaves. Your doctor sees your vitamin D level on blood work and says, "Beautiful, keep taking it." Nobody measures where the calcium actually went, and that is the question that should haunt you. Because you can measure the vitamin D in your blood, you can measure the total calcium in your blood, but neither test tells you whether the calcium ended up in your bones where it helps or in your arteries where it destroys. The system measures the input. It never checks the destination. Think about what this means for your body over years. Every morning for 5, 8, 10 years, you swallow vitamin D and your intestine pushes more calcium into your blood. Some of that calcium finds its way to your bones through sheer volume and gravity, but the portion that wanders into your arterial walls has no opposition, because the protein designed to stop it, MGP, is sitting there dormant without K2 to activate it. Year 1, the calcium begins collecting on the elastin fibers inside your femoral artery. You feel nothing. Your blood work looks fine. Your doctor says, keep going. Year 2, the deposits have grown enough to reduce the artery's ability to expand when your calf demands blood during a walk. You notice your feet are colder at night. You buy thicker socks and blame it on the thermostat. Year 3, the calcium has begun triggering the RUNX2 switch in a few smooth muscle cells. These cells are now actively depositing bone mineral into the artery wall. The process has shifted from passive accumulation to active construction. Your calves ache after a long walk. You assume you are getting out of shape. Year 5, the capillaries in your feet are collapsing from low upstream pressure. The hair follicles on your lower legs have shut down from oxygen starvation. Your legs are hairless below the knee. Your toenails thicken and yellow. Your doctor diagnoses fungal infection and prescribes a cream that does not work because it is not fungus. It is tissue starvation from arteries that can no longer deliver. Year 8. You cannot walk 2 blocks without stopping. The lactic acid fire in your calves forces you to grip a railing and wait for it to pass. You have given up your morning walk. Your spouse watches you from the window. Your world is shrinking. And every single morning during those 8 years, you swallowed a vitamin D pill that made it worse. This is not scare tactics. This is the progression documented in vascular medicine for seniors with peripheral artery disease caused by arterial calcification. And the reason it matters to you right now is that wherever you are on this timeline, K2 can slow it, stop it, and in some cases, begin reversing it. But only if you start before the damage reaches the point of no return. That is why I need you to check your legs tonight, because the signs tell you exactly where you are on this timeline. But vitamin D does one more critical thing that nobody mentions. It triggers your body to build 2 proteins that are supposed to manage the calcium traffic. In your arteries, it builds a protein called matrix GLA protein, or MGP, whose job is to shield the artery wall from calcium. In your bones, it builds a protein called osteocalcin, the calcium depositor, whose job is to pull calcium into the skeleton. These 2 proteins are supposed to be the traffic cops. MGP protects the arteries. Osteocalcin feeds the bones. Except vitamin D builds them in a dormant state, completely inactive. They are cars without keys. They float around your body, fully built, completely unable to do their job. The calcium floods your blood, the traffic cops are paralyzed, and the calcium crashes into whatever tissue it encounters first. In your legs, that tissue is the wall of your femoral artery. K2 is the key that turns on the traffic cops, and the cruelty of K2 deficiency is that it attacks you from two directions at once. Without K2, MGP cannot protect your arteries, and the bone depositor cannot feed your bones. The calcium that should be strengthening your skeleton is depositing into your artery walls instead. Your bones get weaker at the exact same rate your arteries get harder. Osteoporosis and arterial calcification from the same single deficiency. And the system makes it worse without knowing. Your doctor treats the osteoporosis with more vitamin D and more calcium supplements, which floods more calcium into blood that still has no traffic director. The arterial calcification accelerates, while the bones barely benefit because osteocalcin is dormant without K2 to activate it. Your endocrinologist prescribes vitamin D for your bones. Your cardiologist manages your arteries. Neither one mentions K2 because it falls in the gap between their specialties. Inside your body, the same deficiency is destroying both systems, while each specialist addresses only the half they can see. The supplement you take for your bones is feeding your arteries instead, and nobody told you because the system does not test for K2, does not prescribe K2, and does not profit from K2. A study in the Journal of the American Heart Association, using data from the massive multi-ethnic study of atherosclerosis, found that calcium supplementation driven by vitamin D increased coronary artery calcification risk by 22%. The supplement bottle says bone health, the artery wall says otherwise. Are you angry yet? Because what comes next is worse. Leave a comment and tell me if you take vitamin D without K2. Every comment pushes this video to one more senior whose doctor handed them a bottle and never mentioned the partner vitamin. I want you to understand what K2 does at the cellular level, because this is the part that separates this video from every other K2 video on the internet. Other videos tell you K2 activates MGP. I am going to show you exactly what that means inside one smooth muscle cell of your artery wall, step by step. Because when you see it, you will understand why no medication, no surgery, and no other supplement can do what K2 does. Inside the muscular middle layer of your artery wall, the dormant MGP proteins are floating uselessly. They are loose strings of amino acids with no shape and no function. When MK7 enters the smooth muscle cell, it finds an enzyme that has been waiting for K2 the way a lock waits for a key. This enzyme cannot work without K2. K2 provides the chemical energy this enzyme needs to work. The enzyme grabs one dormant MGP string and begins physically altering it. It attaches a chemical hook to specific points along the chain. As each group attaches, the string folds. It bends. It curls. It snaps into a three-dimensional claw with an extremely high magnetic affinity for calcium ions. What was a useless thread is now a molecular hunter. This claw detaches from the cell and enters the artery tissue. It finds a calcium ion drifting toward the elastin fibers that give your artery its stretch. The calcium wants to crystallize on the elastin and make it rigid. The MGP claw snaps around the ion before it can crystallize, shields it, neutralizes it. The elastin stays intact. The artery stays flexible. This happens millions of times per hour in a healthy artery with adequate K2. Millions of claws grabbing millions of calcium ions before they can do damage. In the 97% of seniors who do not get adequate K2, 0 of this happens. And I need you to understand why this matters for your body specifically, not as abstract science, but as the reason your legs feel the way they feel right now. If you are K2 deficient, and statistically you almost certainly are, then every single MGP protein your vitamin D has been creating for years is sitting dormant inside your artery walls. Imagine thousands of bodyguards hired to protect a building, but every one of them is asleep and cannot be woken up because nobody gave them coffee. The building is being robbed in slow motion, and the guards sleep through it. Your elastin fibers are the building, the calcium ions are the robbers, the MGP claws are the guards, and K2 is the coffee. Without it, the robbery has been happening for as long as you have been on vitamin D without K2. Every year adds more calcium. Every year the artery stiffens further. Every year your walking distance shortens by a little bit. So gradually that you blame it on aging because the change is too slow to notice in any single month. This is why I asked you to check your legs earlier, because the signs do not lie. Cold feet means the capillaries are collapsing. Hairless legs means the follicles are starving. Thick toenails means the nail bed is suffocating. Shiny skin means the dermis cannot regenerate. Each sign represents years of accumulation that happened while you took your vitamin D faithfully every morning, and your doctor said everything looks great. I am telling you this not to scare you, but because what comes next changes the entire picture. Because K2 does not just prevent the damage, it reverses it, and that reversal has been measured in clinical trials. Without K2, the MGP stays dormant. The calcium precipitates out of your blood and sticks to the elastin fibers of your artery wall. A microscopic rock begins to form. And what happens next is the part that should make every senior on vitamin D without K2 put down the bottle and pay attention. The smooth muscle cell sitting next to this growing rock is designed to stretch and relax. But the rock is scraping against it with every heartbeat. The constant mechanical stress triggers a genetic switch inside the cell called RUNX2. This is not a vascular gene. RUNX2 is the master switch for bone formation. It belongs in your skeleton. When RUNX2 activates in a smooth muscle cell, the cell receives an instruction that overrides its entire identity. It dismantles its own contractile fibers, it erases its vascular programming, and it transforms into a bone-building cell that begins actively pulling calcium from the blood and depositing solid bone mineral directly into the artery wall. Your artery is now constructing a skeleton inside your leg. Not passively accumulating calcium, actively building bone, cell by cell, beat by beat, year by year. And this is why you cannot walk like you used to, because a healthy femoral artery can dilate and increase blood flow by 400% when your calf muscle needs oxygen. A calcified femoral artery cannot dilate at all. It is bone. When you walk, your muscle screams for oxygen, your brain tells the artery to open, and the artery does nothing. The oxygen runs out in seconds. Your muscle switches to emergency mode and produces lactic acid that floods the nerve endings like chemical fire. That fire is intermittent claudication. It forces you to stop. You grip a mailbox. You wait. The acid washes away. You take another step, and the fire returns. You are not out of shape. Your muscles are not weak. Your arteries are starving your legs while your doctor measures your vitamin D and says, "Perfect." And this is what your family sees. Your spouse watches you stop on the sidewalk and grip a railing. Your daughter asks if you need to sit down. Your grandchild walks ahead and looks back, wondering why you are not keeping up. They do not see calcified arteries. They see someone who is slowing down, someone who is giving up. Someone who is getting old. You are not getting old. Your arteries are getting hard because a vitamin that costs 87 cents a day was never added to the bottle your doctor prescribed. The system that prescribed your vitamin D without K2 will gladly sell you a $30,000 stent to open the artery it helped close. It will sell you a bypass surgery for $50,000 to reroute blood around the blockage it contributed to. It will prescribe cilostazol or pentoxifylline at $200 per month to temporarily increase blood flow through pipes it allowed to calcify. But it will not mention a $28 vitamin that could have prevented the calcification in the first place. Because that vitamin is not on the formulary, cannot be patented, and does not generate a billing code. That is not healthcare. That is a revenue model with a stethoscope. And this is why this channel exists, because someone needs to tell you what the system will not. Someone needs to spend 60 minutes explaining what your doctor does not have 60 seconds for. And someone needs to show you that the solution is not another surgery, not another prescription, and not another specialist visit. The solution is one vitamin that has been available for decades and ignored by the system for the same amount of time. What I am about to show you next is the one medication that makes all of this dramatically worse. If you are on this drug, or if someone you love is on it, the next section could be the most important medical information you hear this year. But do not despair, because this is where the science turns in your favor. K2 does not just prevent new calcium deposits, it can begin to reverse existing ones, and the mechanism is remarkable. When activated MGP claws find an existing calcium crystal embedded in your artery wall, they do not try to dissolve it directly. The claw is a shield, not a weapon. Instead, it binds to the outer surface of the crystal and changes its chemical signature. It marks it. And that mark acts as a molecular beacon that your immune system can see. Your body has specialized cleanup cells called macrophages. They patrol your tissues looking for debris, damaged cells, and foreign material. Normally, they cannot distinguish a calcium crystal from healthy tissue because the crystal is buried and camouflaged. But when activated MGP binds to the surface of the crystal, the macrophage suddenly recognizes it as a target. The macrophage arrives at the marked crystal and engulfs the outer layer. It releases acidic enzymes that etch into the mineral surface the way vinegar eats through limestone. Layer by layer, the macrophage dissolves the calcium back into the bloodstream. The kidneys can excrete it, or the bone depositor can redirect it into the bones where it was supposed to go. This process is slow. It took years to build the deposit, and it takes months to dissolve it. But the Vita-K CAC trial at Maastricht University measured the result over 3 years and found that high-dose MK7 improved arterial elasticity. The rock that took years to build was shrinking. The artery was flexing again. This could be happening inside your arteries if you start tonight. 1 capsule, once a day, with a meal because MK7 needs fat to absorb. That is the entire effort. If you are wondering whether it is worth it, the numbers I am about to show you ended the debate. Subscribe because the next video covers the 3 foods with the highest natural K2 and the preparation method that doubles absorption. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds too good. Another supplement that promises everything. Another YouTube video telling me to buy a vitamin. I understand the skepticism because you have been burned before. So let me give you the numbers that ended the debate in the medical research community. The Rotterdam study. Dr. Galeinsa. 4,807 seniors tracked for over a decade. Not a supplement company study. Not industry-funded marketing. An independent population study. The result? Seniors with the highest K2 intake had 52% less severe aortic calcification, 41% lower cardiovascular disease, and 57% lower risk of fatal heart disease. And the detail that will change how you think about leafy greens forever. The same study measured K1, the form in spinach and kale. K1 had 0 effect on any cardiovascular outcome. 0. The reason is molecular architecture. K1 has a short tail. The liver grabs it immediately for clotting factors. It never escapes into the circulation. K2 has a long, fat-soluble tail that hitches a ride on LDL cholesterol and gets delivered directly to the smooth muscle cells inside your leg arteries. K1 stays in the liver. K2 reaches the walls. Eating a salad does not protect your legs. I need you to understand why this distinction matters so much, because if you have been eating spinach and kale thinking it protects your circulation, that belief needs to change tonight. When K1 enters your bloodstream from a salad, the liver grabs it within minutes. The liver needs K1 to make clotting factors, specifically factor 2, 7, 9, and 10. This is essential work. Without these factors, you would bleed from a paper cut. So the liver hoards K1 aggressively. It pulls it out of the blood before K1 ever gets a chance to travel to your arteries. K2 is different at the molecular level. It has a long, fatty tail that the liver does not recognize as a clotting resource. Instead, K2 hitches a ride on LDL cholesterol particles, the same particles that carry cholesterol through your blood. The LDL acts like a delivery truck, carrying the K2 past the liver, through the systemic circulation, and dropping it off directly at the smooth muscle cells inside the walls of your leg arteries. K2 uses the very particles your doctor worries about as a transportation system to reach the tissue that needs it most. This is why the Rotterdam study found zero cardiovascular benefit from K1 and massive benefit from K2. They are not the same vitamin. They share a name, but they have different destinations. And the richest food source of K2 on Earth is a fermented soybean paste called natto, which is a staple breakfast food in Japan and almost completely absent from the Western diet. Japanese seniors who eat natto regularly have dramatically lower rates of arterial calcification and cardiovascular mortality. This is not a coincidence. It is K2 reaching their artery walls every single day in amounts that Western seniors do not get from any food they commonly eat. If you do not eat natto, and most seniors outside Japan do not, supplementation is the only reliable way to get therapeutic K2 levels. MK7 at 180 micrograms per day is the dose used in the Maastricht clinical trials. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Another supplement, another vitamin someone on the internet says will fix everything. I understand the skepticism because you have been burned before. You have bought bottles that promised miracles and delivered nothing. So let me address this directly. K2 is not a cure-all. It does one specific thing. It activates the two proteins that manage calcium traffic in your body. Without it, the traffic system is offline and calcium deposits wherever it lands. With it, the traffic system is online and calcium goes to bones instead of arteries. This is not marketing. This is biochemistry measured in clinical trials at Maastricht University, documented in the Rotterdam study across nearly 5,000 seniors over a decade, and confirmed by the MESA data showing that calcium supplementation without K2 increases arterial calcification by 22%. The question is not whether K2 works. The research settled that. The question is why nobody told you about it. And the answer is the same answer behind every gap in the medical system. K2 is a naturally occurring vitamin that cannot be patented. No pharmaceutical company can own it. No company can charge $200 per month for it. So no company spends money marketing it to doctors, funding continuing education about it, or lobbying to include it in treatment guidelines. The system is designed to sell patentable molecules. K2 is not one of them, so it sits on a shelf at the pharmacy, ignored, while millions of seniors calcify. MK7 is the form that matters. MK4, the other form, disappears from your blood in 2 hours. MK7 has a 72-hour half-life. At 180 micrograms daily, which is the exact dose used in the Maastricht trial, the blood level builds to a steady state where the MGP claws are active around the clock. The shield never drops. Not at midnight, not at 4 a.m., not during the morning surge when your arteries are under the most stress. I need to talk about warfarin now, and this is the section that will make you angry at the system more than anything else in this video. Warfarin prevents strokes by blocking an enzyme called VCOR, the recycler, that recycles vitamin K. To understand why this is devastating for your arteries, you need to understand the recycling loop it destroys. In a healthy body, K2 is used and recycled continuously. When K2 activates a claw, the molecule is consumed. It becomes useless. But the recycler grabs it, rebuilds it, and the same molecule works again. One molecule of K2 activates hundreds of claws through this loop. That is how your body protects your arteries with the tiny amount of K2 you get from food. Warfarin jams the recycler. When K2 activates one claw, it is consumed and stays consumed because the recycler is broken. One molecule, one claw, gone forever. Think about what this means if you are on warfarin right now. Your body gets K2 from food in tiny amounts. Without recycling, those amounts are burned through almost immediately, and nothing is left to protect your arteries. The supply runs dry, the shield drops to zero, and it stays at zero every single day you take the drug. And warfarin does not just jam the recycler in your liver. It travels through your blood and breaks the recycler everywhere, including inside the smooth muscle cells of your artery walls. The day you start warfarin, your activated MGP begins dropping. Within weeks, it approaches zero. The calcium inside your arteries is unchecked. The smooth muscle cells in your vessel walls start flipping the bone switch. If you have been on warfarin for 2 years, the bone formation has been running unchecked for 2 years. If you have been on it for 6 years like Virgil, that is 6 years of unrestricted growth. Every blood test came back fine because nobody was measuring what warfarin was doing to your arteries. A study by Weiss and colleagues confirmed it. Warfarin patients had significantly higher vascular calcification. The drug preventing the stroke is building bone inside the arteries. And the cruelest part is that seniors on warfarin are told to avoid vitamin K entirely because it disrupts the drug. You are trapped. The medication strips your shield, and the dietary advice strips your supply. Calcification accelerates from both directions while your doctor monitors the INR and says everything looks fine. The system manages clotting through one specialist and circulation through another, and the two specialists do not talk to each other. Inside your body, one medication is destroying what the other was supposed to protect. That is not a healthcare system. That is a billing system. But there is an escape. If you are on warfarin, or if someone you love is on it, this could change everything. Eliquis and Xarelto are newer blood thinners that target a completely different part of the clotting system that has nothing to do with vitamin K. A senior on Eliquis can safely take 180 micrograms of MK7 and protect their arteries without changing their bleeding risk at all. Virgil was 78 from Tulsa. 6 years on warfarin. His walking distance shrank from a mile to his driveway. His daughter researched the newer blood thinners, asked his cardiologist to switch, and once he was on Eliquis, he started K2. 3 months later, his feet were warm. 6 months later, he walked 2 blocks without stopping for the first time in years. But his wife noticed a change Virgil did not talk about. In the first month after starting K2, she said his face changed, not his features. His expression. For 6 years, Virgil had the face of a man who was watching his world shrink. He stopped going to the hardware store because the walk from the parking lot to the door was too far. He stopped visiting his neighbor because the 200 feet between their driveways made his calves burn. He sat on the porch and watched the street instead of walking on it. His wife said the hardest part was not watching him struggle. It was watching him stop trying. If you have a spouse or a child who watches you the way Virgil's wife watched him, they are seeing the same thing. They are watching you shrink. The day he said he did not want to go to their granddaughter's birthday party, because the restaurant was too far from the parking lot, she went into the bathroom and cried. 3 months after starting K2, Virgil walked to the hardware store. His wife drove behind him because she did not trust it yet. He made it to the door, turned around, and waved. She said that wave broke her open because it was the wave of a man coming back. If you have a spouse who watches you the way she watched him, you know what that wave would mean. 6 months later, he walked to his neighbor's house, stood in the driveway talking about the weather for 20 minutes, walked home. No stopping, no gripping, no fire. His wife said, "I got him back from a pill switch and a vitamin nobody told us about. 6 years wasted." If that sounds familiar, listen to what comes next. The system does not connect the dots. The hematologist who prescribed the warfarin does not check the arteries. The cardiologist who checks the arteries does not question the warfarin. And inside Virgil's body, one doctor's prescription was destroying what the other doctor was trying to save. That is specialization without communication. That is the system. If you are on warfarin, say this to your doctor. I am concerned that warfarin is accelerating vascular calcification by blocking K2 activation of matrix GLA protein. Can we discuss switching to Eliquis so I can safely supplement with K2? That sentence references the mechanism. A doctor who understands the science will take it seriously. Leave a comment and tell me if you are on warfarin because this information could change everything. I read every comment on these videos. The question I see most is how to talk to me directly about your specific medications and your specific supplement combination. Every day I write one email, and when you write back, I write back. Senior Health Life Daily, free. First link below this video. Check these signs tonight. Look at your lower legs. Run your hand along your shin. If the skin is thin and shiny and tight like wax paper, that is your skin failing to regenerate from low blood supply. If your lower legs are completely hairless, that is the hair follicles shutting down because they are the first tissue to go when arteries fail. If your toenails are thick and yellow, that is ischemic starvation, not fungus. If your feet are cold while the rest of you is warm, the blood is not reaching your extremities. Ask your doctor for an ankle brachial index, which compares blood pressure at the ankle to the arm. This is the test that reveals whether the arteries in your legs are delivering enough blood. Above 1.0 is healthy. Between 0.9 and 1.0 is borderline, and your doctor may say it looks fine. What borderline actually means is that your arteries have already lost some of their ability to dilate, and the calcification has begun. Below 0.9 is peripheral artery disease. Below 0.5 means the tissue is critically ischemic, which means the cells in your leg are actively starving for oxygen right now. 5-minute test. No needles. Could explain every symptom you have blamed on aging. Ask for a DPUC-MGP test to measure your inactive MGP. This is the test that counts how many claws are sitting dormant inside your artery walls because there is not enough K2 to activate them. A high number means your arteries are unprotected. A low number means K2 is doing its job. Your doctor may not know this test because it is specialized and the system has not built K2 monitoring into standard care. That is not your doctor's fault. That is the system failing to keep up with the research. If they cannot order it, ask for a coronary artery calcium score instead. A quick CT scan. 0 means clean. Under 100 is mild. 100 to 400 is moderate. Above 400 is severe. If your number is above 0, the calcification has already started. The question is how fast it is progressing and whether K2 can slow it. If your doctor says they are not familiar with DPUC-MGP, say this. Doctor, I have been taking vitamin D for years without vitamin K2. I am concerned that the calcium I have been absorbing may be depositing in my arteries instead of my bones. Can we check my coronary calcium score and my ankle brachial index to assess whether vascular calcification is affecting my circulation? That sentence references the mechanism and gives your doctor a clear clinical path to follow. 97% of seniors are K2 deficient because the modern diet has been stripped of fermented foods and organ meats. Your body cannot make meaningful K2 on its own. And because no pharmaceutical company can patent it, nobody spends money putting it on your doctor's radar. Opal was 73 from Memphis. 8 years of vitamin D without K2. By year 6, she could not walk 2 blocks. Her ABI was 0.72. If your feet are cold tonight and your calves burn when you walk, her story is your story. The only difference is that you now know what she did not know for 8 years. She started MK7 at 180 micrograms per day. Within 6 weeks, the burning eased. Within 3 months, she walked her full route. The morning she reached the corner where the old beagle barks, she stood on the sidewalk and cried. Not from pain, because there was none. Her husband watched her walk through the door with dirt on her shoes and color in her cheeks. He said, "I thought I lost you to that chair." She said, "The chair almost won." Her doctor looked at her 3-month ABI result. "Whatever you changed, keep doing it." She said, "I added 1 vitamin you never mentioned." He looked it up. He started recommending it to his other patients. One doctor, one patient, one vitamin. That is how it spreads, because the system will not do it. You will. Remember what I told you at the beginning. 90 days from now, warm feet when you get into bed. No burning in your calves when you walk. Your spouse stops watching you with that look on their face. Your daughter stops asking if you need help. Your doctor says your circulation numbers improved for the first time in years. From one capsule at 87 cents a day that nobody mentioned until this video. That is the destination. The protocol is the map that gets you there. The blood pressure protocol is my ebook, the complete system that looks at everything together, including the calcium traffic system that determines whether your arteries calcify or stay flexible. The protocol is available through my newsletter, Senior Health Life Daily, free. First link below this video. Every day you take vitamin D without K2 is another day the claws stay dormant and the bone grows inside your arteries. The protocol is how you stop the damage and begin the repair. Before you go, there is one food that contains more K2 per gram than any other food on Earth, and most seniors have never heard of it. I cover the food, the serving size, and the preparation that maximizes absorption in the next video. Click the link on your screen. The person you are thinking of right now takes vitamin D every morning without K2. The one whose legs ache, whose feet are cold every night, who used to walk a mile and now cannot make it to the end of the block. Their doctor handed them a vitamin D bottle and never said a word about the partner vitamin. The system did not tell them because the system does not make money from a vitamin it cannot patent. You might be the only person who tells them. Share this video because the person you are thinking of right now takes vitamin D every morning without K2, and nobody has told them what it is doing to their arteries. You might be the only person who does. 87 cents a day could be the difference between walking 2 miles and watching from a window. Subscribe because the next video reveals the one food that delivers K2 naturally in a form your body absorbs twice as fast as any supplement. If you are not subscribed, you will miss it. Leave a comment. 2 things. Do you take vitamin D? And do you take K2 with it? Most seniors take one without the other, and that gap between the 2 bottles is the reason this video exists. Opal walks 2 miles every morning. The beagle still barks. The neighbors still wave. Her calves do not burn. Her feet are warm at night. Her husband walks with her now because he spent 2 years watching from the window, and he is done standing on the wrong side of the glass. She was never lost. Her arteries were, and one vitamin, the one the system never mentioned, brought them back.